Hi, this is Dr. Pierre Milo speaking, narrating my book, Rising from the Ashes of Loss, My Voyage Through Grief, available at Amazon.com. Post number 22. Still in my bubble, still in my own world, still reminiscing of what Louise went through. Wow. I felt helpless at Louise's is horribly sick. I've never seen anybody that sick. I remember how powerless and inadequate I felt at that time for not being able to do more to help alleviate her sufferings. I somehow felt guilty or frustrated for not possessing some kind of power that could magically make all of this go away. I was devastated and overwhelmed with grief as I witnessed her withering away and in out of control downward spiral as she was struck by a massive and devastating gastroenteritis. I'd never in my life seen anyone to be so sick. My heart is heavy and my gut hurts as I flash back to that moment. She was overwhelmed with dozens of uncontrollable episodes of violent vomiting and horrible spouts of diarrhea per day. At times, the spasms were so strong and violent that her hands, arms, and feet would paralyze mercilessly. Then, trying to remain calm as best as I could with a shaky voice, I would have to guide her into relaxation to help alleviate her terrible anxiety and calm down the involuntary muscle contractions in her extremities. But the most atrocious part in all of this was that every time she was sick, the fresh stitches holding her tummy together tight threatened to rip out, tearing her skin brutally and leaving a nasty open gash. A horrible thought I had. I had to hold on and press a pillow to her stomach each time she threw up, in an effort to minimize the possible damage done to the vomiting motion. Aside from these humble interventions, the extent of my implication in the whole heartbreaking scene was limited to sponging, bathing, feeding, running errands, and bring her emotional support. That's it. Quite destabilizing for me to feel so useless in front of such a drama. But little did I know then that the worst has yet to come. Boy. The mere thought of seeing her like this drove me absolutely crazy. But I could only stand there like a helpless idiot, feeling guilty for not being able to do more for her. It was a hurtful, pitiful, and horrendous sight, and I was resentful at the world for allowing this to happen. How much can a person take, for heaven's sakes? Leave her alone, hasn't she had enough? I thought angrily and ready to pick a fight with the big guy. God's wicked and twisted sense of humor did not let up for another 7 dreadful days, and she must have lost at least 18 pounds during that trying time. She was so exhausted and weak that she could not walk without support from the little distance from the bathroom to the living room, where she constantly lay on the couch, totally wasted. I would massage her overstrained back and recoil with sympathy every time she yelped out in pain. In all of the times I felt helpless during the voyage, this period must have been the worst. And many times I prayed I could miraculously assume some of her pain, take some of her pain so she could have the rest for a while. No dice. Doesn't work like that. But unfortunately, nature would not have that. It would not respond to my pleading in bargaining. Life sucks sometimes, man. It doesn't care. It just is. Louise got better eventually, and I managed somehow to regain my bearings. I was very emotional after that episode, and I felt an urgent need to vent and to express how proud I was of Louise's courageous behavior through all of this. After that dramatic episode, my heart was raw, confused, and in an out of control emotional turmoil, and I could not even come close to being able to express myself coherently. Word could just not come out properly. The undercurrent of repressed emotion was just too strong. So, in view of all of this, I decided to put pen to paper and write her a letter. I thought it would be easier and more efficient to talk to her this way. And the letter goes this way. Hi, honey. You must really wonder why I'm writing this letter to you. But bear with me, it will be self-explanatory later on. Ever since we received the dreadful news about your health, my life has turned into a veritable emotional whirlwind, and I can only assume how nightmarish it must have been for you. Through all the difficult episodes that you've gone through since then, you exhibited the strength and courage I always thought you had, and I'm proud of you for that. It is on that dreadful surgery day that my esteem for you turned into awe. I can still picture you holding your head up high while stumbling on wobbly legs as you valiantly made your way towards the prep room. Your allure then was that of a grand lady walking bravely to an uncertain fate. And I could never have been more impressed by that. Know that this image will forever remain imprinted in my mind. I could have spoken these words to you eventually, but I prefer to set these on paper instead of for your keeping. Words spoken fly, words written stay. Life throws curves at us all the time. And should adversity ever strike you again, remember how great you were and how great you can be again. Annie, you are an extraordinary woman. And I love you with all my heart, always, me. Back at the hospital, I was taken out of my reverie by the oncology nurse coming into the room to finalize the procedure. Congratulations, Mrs. Milo. You just completed your first treatment, and it went very well, she said. I would agree with that comment if it weren't for the fact that the medical team had to interrupt the session in order to administer Louise's a sedative in an effort to stop the scary heart palpitations she was having all the time. Panic attacks, they said. And it is common in new chemotherapy patients, apparently. But I would learn later chemotherapy could also occasionally cause a nasty heart attack, an important little fact that was hidden from us. Would we have wanted to know, though? Maybe not. Maybe it was best this way, and it would probably have added to Louise's already high stress level. Who knew? But it made me feel good to bitch a little. It's liberating. Finally, 5 hours later, the ordeal is over and I can take Louise back home. But not before she swallows a little yellow pill. The second one is also given to her, and she must make sure to take it the next day. Otherwise, she could be violently sick with nausea. No problem, I said with determination. I'll make sure she takes it. The mere thought of vomiting sends me into a frenzied panic, and I was surely not going to let Louise suffer more like she did before and spill her guts out in front of me again. Not if I can help it. It was now time to start implementing our backup plan, an alternative natural treatment meant to alleviate the side effects of chemotherapy while increasing its effectiveness. Will it work? Only time will tell.